Hi Marcus, thank you for this interview for Startup Cafe Data. Marcus, you founded Taxify when you were only 19 years old, and how it is for a startup entrepreneur to be in business at 19 years old?
Of course, it's quite challenging to start a company when you're young. You don't have any money, any connections, no experience. So you really need to work hard and have a lot of motivation. Like that's really the only advantage you have versus all the other bigger companies and more experienced entrepreneurs. So that's why I started early. When I was already 16, I went to different hackathons. I was learning from the web how to build good products, learn from other people's experience, and just pick up as much skills as I could. So when I was 19, I already had a few years of like online experience in what to do. If I hadn't got this experience, I probably would have failed quite easily.
Mm-hmm. Marcus, in 2013, when you started your business, Uber was also a startup.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you convince to go for a ride-sharing business? Why did you choose ride-sharing?
I think it really came down to solving a personal problem I had. So when I was a student, 19, it was very hard to get a taxi in Tallinn. The experience was really horrible. You had to call 20 different companies, it took a lot of time, then they overcharged you, then the cars were really bad quality, they didn't show up. So it was a very big mess. So I just realized that if the industry is so bad, that means there's a big opportunity to improve it. If everybody was already previously happy with the taxi industry, I wouldn't have started.
Mm-hmm. How do you see the future of Taxify and ride-sharing business? The main challenges of these business models?
I think that the main challenges are just getting more and more people to switch from private cars and public transport to use on-demand ride-sharing platforms, because we think that fundamentally these are the best way to move in a city. So people should not buy their own cars, which is just a big constraint on resource. It creates a lot of traffic. So just convincing people that this is the future will need a lot of work.
Marcus, in Europe, ride-sharing apps are currently facing regulatory challenges, strong opposition from taxi companies and drivers' unions.
Mm-hmm.
How do you cope with these challenges?
I think the main thing that's on our side is that everybody realizes that this is obviously the future. So I see it similarly to how, for example, fossil fuel companies 10 years ago were trying to convince everybody that there's no global warming and that fossil fuels are a good thing. I think similarly taxi companies all realize that ride-sharing apps are the future, but they're just trying to fight against it and still convince politicians that it's not. But I think it's a battle they will lose. It's just a matter of time.
So you declare war on taxi companies, traditional companies?
I'd say more like declare war that we fight for consumer interest, while the taxi companies are fighting against consumer interest.
Mm-hmm. Why do you say that?
Well, because taxi companies just are fighting against what's good for customers, what they like. They want to have as little cars as possible, so they would make good money, while the platforms are fighting to have as many drivers as possible, so people could get a car fast and cheap. So, I mean, like obviously we are trying to get customers to a better service and taxi companies are fighting against it.
Taxify extended in at least 18 countries, including Romania. I think that today there are 20 countries which Taxify operates in.
Yes.
Okay. Are there different challenges between Europe, Africa, Americas for a ride-sharing business?
Sure, the challenges are very different in every country. So, for example, the quality requirements and safety is a very big deal in Africa. So we're integrating different methods how to notify the police or our support if there's any incidents. But in Europe, that really isn't a big issue at all. So the issues here are more on the regulatory side, for example. So every country is a bit different because transport is a very local problem to solve.
And how do you cope with these differences? I mean, do you have any challenges in your business model to adapt to each country where you go?
Sure, that's one of the main reasons why we have local teams. So in each of these 20 countries, we have a local office and a local team who actually understands the market, comes up with new ideas, and that's the only way to localize the product and be successful there.
Mm-hmm. In August, Taxify announced this strategic partnership with Didi, a huge company in Asia. What is the status of this partnership? The money involved, investment, technology, the results so far?
Sure. So Didi is the biggest ride-sharing company in the world. They do tens of millions of trips every day. And obviously their technology and business operations are very advanced. So by partnering with them, we can just benefit a lot from this experience, learn the best practices, and then bring some parts of this to our markets in Europe and Africa and make the product even better.
In Bucharest, where I live, I know a lot of people who use both Taxify and Uber, or only Taxify or only Uber. Which are your main competitive advantages when it comes to competition?
Sure, there's very many, so really depends on the country. One of the main things we focus on is localizing the product. For example, having local payment methods. So in Kenya we have M-Pesa, which is the mainly used payment method there. In the Baltic states we also have telecom payments. So small things like this, which local people really value. But what's universal across all our markets is that the drivers always make more money when they drive with Taxify. So that helps us attract the best drivers, and it helps us have more drivers than other platforms, which means that you can get the car faster with us than you do elsewhere.